بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين صلى الله وسلم على نبينا الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Respected elders and brothers, our dear viewers at home, I hope you guys are doing all well. I hope this reaches you in the best state of health and faith. Alhamdulillah, some good news amidst all the chaos that is going on and that we witness in our society is that looks like the first phase of the coronavirus pandemic is fading away, and from tomorrow we'll have the first phase of the reopening, phase one, and inshallah when the second phase start, that's when we will be able to gather in the masajid once again, but at 25% capacity of the mosque itself. So this is not an official announcement from GMC, but this is just what we see in the news according to New York One, that when the phase 2 begins, inshallah, places of worship will be allowed to have gatherings. So inshallah, we are very... Why am I so hyper? I was just running a little bit. So inshallah, you can write down in the comment what you miss most about the masjid, and if you're excited to come back, inshallah. I know the first Ameen that we hear is going to be really loud in the masjid. That's very good, alhamdulillah. Alright, so that's some of the news, good news that we can and we should celebrate, inshallah. There's something else. So today we do the Tafsīr class. Inshallah, today we will do verse 11 of Surah al-Hujurāt. Verse 11 of Surah al-Hujurāt. The reason why I want to go over those verses is because of the current uproar and the protests and the riots that we see around the world. You know, it's not just in Minneapolis and Minnesota and New York City, but around the world, even in Palestine and Syria and all of those places. So the root of that, of all those things that are happening, is because of racism and because of the differences in class and the systematic race that we all perhaps see that is done, and maybe if you even experience, personally we might have experienced. So verse 11 of Surah al-Hujurāt, Allah Azza wa Jalla says, يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا يسخر قوم من قوم عسى يكونوا خيرا منهم. That all you believe, let not a people ridicule another people. Don't laugh at other people, don't make fun of other people. Perhaps they are better than you, and neither should a group of women should laugh and ridicule and mock and make fun of other people, because the group that you're making fun of can be better than you. And do not وَلَا تَلْمِزُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ, and do not insult one another, and do not call each other names. بِئْسَ الِاسْمُ الْفُسُوقُ بَعْدَ الْإِيمَانِ. How wretched is the name of disobedience after one's faith. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَتُوبْ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الظَّالِمُونَ. Whoever does not repent, then it is those who are the wrongdoers. So Quran, alhamdulillah, has the explanation and has the answer to everything. No matter what we're going through in life, and whatever it might be, you will find an answer to that, because Allah Azza wa Jalla says Quran is what? تِبْيَانًا لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ. It is تِبْيَانًا لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ. It is an explanation for everything. So all of the things that are happening, just recently we had a African American citizen of this country, Ahmad Arbery. He was running and jogging, and he was shot down and killed. And even when he was killed, they were throwing racial slurs and calling him the N-word, etc. And this is just recently discovered. And then we had this paramedic, a woman who also was shot. And now with the death of George Floyd, you know, everyone just has enough, that this is it. We have to make a change, and we have to do something about it. And reasonably, rightfully so, everyone is angry and everyone is mad. You know, this is not something new. You know, we all say, and we all try to, you know, claim that, you know, America is not a racial country and we have equality and all of that. You know, but before the Civil War, slavery was practiced openly. Slave trading, buying and selling slaves, and all of that stuff, and you know, you kind of buy the whole physical, sometimes even the soul of those people, and keep them like that. After the Civil War, the only difference that might have occurred is in changing and shifting the explicit nature of those rules that was written, whether it was in the Constitution or otherwise. All the Civil War did is just remove those laws, but those feelings of racism, those things carried on to with the people even after they were abolished, and even after they were cancelled and abrogated and erased from the Constitution, etc. But people still bore, and people still had those superiority, feeling of superiority. Now, and this problem existed even in Mecca when the Prophet ﷺ was there, between the Quraysh and the non-Quraysh, and the Arab and the Ajam, and the black and the non-blacks. This existed at that time too. And in the beginning, Allah Azza wa Jal revealed verses that went against racism and class differences. It wasn't later on towards the end of Makkah or towards the beginning of Medina or towards the end of Medina, but right in the beginning of Risala of the Prophet ﷺ. One of the things Allah Azza wa Jal revealed to him was about putting down and bringing down racism in different classes in society, because this is what actually Fir'aun tried to do. Right? Allah says, وَجَعَلَ أَهْلَ شِيَعًا يَسْتَضْعِفُ طَائِفَةً مِّنْهُمْ. He made the people of Musa and Bani Israel into different classes, different sects. He gave them, you belong to this tribe, and you are at this level, you are at this rank, and we're going to use you, and and give some privileges to the other one. Right? So the same thing existed in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Walid ibn Mughira, the father of Khalid ibn Walid. And we know Khalid ibn Walid, the brave companion of the Prophet ﷺ. He was a great warrior and a lieutenant and leader of the army. His father, Walid ibn Mughira. So he was a very a man of status, you can say, a man of nobility, a man of high influence among the Quraysh. So one time, he was in between. He didn't really accept Islam, and he didn't really go against it completely. So he was in between. If someone just came and encouraged him a little bit more, perhaps he would have accepted Islam. So he went to the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ, Abu Talib. And he went to Abu Talib and he said that, listen, we want to go and listen to Muhammad, and perhaps maybe even accept his message one day. We want to go sit with him. But the condition is that the people who are lowly, quote unquote, the black ones like Bilal and Ammar ibn Yasir, the foreign ones, the immigrants, when we come, make sure that they don't sit with us in the assembly. And that's because that's going to take down and bring down our own status and nobility and ranks. So make sure that they're gone when we come. That's the only thing we request. So Abu Talib, the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ, he was like, okay, this sounds reasonable. This is not too big of an excuse to ask for, demand. So he went to the Prophet ﷺ and said that, listen, Walid ibn Mughira and his companions were very influential. All they ask you is that some of these people, they go out of the assembly when they come in. So the Prophet ﷺ consulted his companions, Sahaba, and they said that, Ya Rasulullah, listen, we can talk to Bilal, and we can say that, listen, this is nothing personal. We're just doing this for the deen and for the propagation of deen. And later we'll just talk to him and convince him and kind of console him and make him feel better about it. And so the Prophet ﷺ was, in that he kind of considered it. That's the reason why he asked the Sahaba that, what should I do? So right after that, Allah Azza wa Jal revealed the verses that وَاصْبِرْ نَفْسَكَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ رَبَّهُمْ بِالْغَدَاةِ وَالْعَشِيِّ. These are the verses that we recite, alhamdulillah, every Friday from Surah Al-Kahf. Allah said, be patient, have patience with yourself, with those people who يَدْعُونَ رَبَّهُمْ بِالْغَدَاةِ وَالْعَشَىٰ, who call and supplicate and invoke their Lord in the morning and in the evenings. So don't even think about telling them to go out of your assembly. وَلَا تَطْرُدِ الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ رَبَّهُمْ بِالْغَدَاةِ وَالْعَشِيِّ. Allah Azza wa Jalla in Surah Al-An'am, the same command he tells the Prophet that don't you, and this is the language of Allah Azza wa Jalla, that don't you, dare I say dare, don't you dare take them out of the assembly and the group. فَتَكُونَ مِنَ الظَّالِمِينَ فَتَطْرُدَهُمْ فَتَكُونَ مِنَ الظَّالِمِينَ. If you do that, you will be among the oppressors. So this is Allah Azza wa Jal warning the Prophet ﷺ, and that is fine. So Allah Azza wa Jal was telling him that we want the quality of these people. We don't need people with high influence and powerful leaders of Makkah. So everyone is created equal in the sight of Allah Azza wa Jal. In the last sermon of the Prophet ﷺ, Hajjatul Wada, he specifically mentioned out and emphasized that وَلَا فَرْقَ بَيْنَ عَرَبِيٍّ وَلَا أَعْجَمِيٍّ. There is no difference between Arabi and Ajami. There is no difference between people who are Arab and people who are non-Arab. And there is no difference between a black person and a non-black person. إِلَّا بِالتَّقْوَى, except with taqwa. One instance of a companion who actually fell into this problem, and he also made a mistake. We're all humans, and companions were also humans as well. They made mistakes. So one companion, Sahabi of the Prophet ﷺ, his name was Abu Dharr radiallahu ta'ala anhu. So there was a transaction that took place between Abu Dharr and Bilal radiallahu anhu, where Bilal radiallahu anhu owed some money to Abu Dharr. Now when the time came for Bilal to pay up, Abu Dharr came and said, "Where's my money? And I need my money." So Bilal radiallahu anhu said that I don't have it yet, and I'm still trying to gather the money, and I'm going to give it to you as soon as I can. So Abu Dharr radiallahu anhu, he kind of got fed up, you can say, and he said, "You the son of a black woman," and like we said, racism and class differences was there before Islam in the days of Jahiliyyah. So perhaps some of those things carried on with the Sahaba. So he said that you the son of the black woman, and this is the reason, it was a pretty harsh and racist statement. So the Prophet ﷺ, he passed by and he heard this, and he reprimanded Abu Dharr radiallahu anhu, and Abu Dharr radiallahu anhu, he went down on the feet of Bilal radiallahu anhu and asked him for forgiveness, and then Bilal radiallahu anhu forgave. So like we said, in this country, racism has not been completely eradicated. Those of us Muslims and brown people who have immigrated, we might have experienced it firsthand, right? But I think the black community, our black brothers and sisters, African American, who are of a darker complexion, they face it a lot more. And according to studies and statistics and the research that has been done, it shows that black people face racism and experience racism a lot more than any other community. There was some of the statistics and numbers that can cast some light on this issue. Is that 2% of the assets that is possessed by the white people, the median white people, the 2% of all of the assets that is owned by black people, that is only 2% of what white people have, and it's something to that effect. There's some more studies done, and this one was done by a journalist. His name is Radley Balco. In 2018, he did this research where he found that black people are more likely than white people to be pulled over, to not be told why they're being stopped and be searched. So black people are more likely to be pulled over than white people, and then the police don't even tell them why they're being searched. And then black people are more likely than white people to be shot by an officer while unarmed, right? So while unarmed, black people are more likely to be shot. Black people are more likely than white people to go to prison for the same crime, and more likely to be wrongfully convicted. So two people commit the same crime, you have a white person and a black person, and if they both go to trial and they are convicted, it is the black person, he would be in jail for a longer period of time for the same exact crime. Black people make out about 15% of the complete population, but if you go to the jail and see the incarceration rate, that 1/3 of those who are in jail are black people, right? So you can see the margins here that are completely against black people. Black defendants who kill white people are much more likely to receive the death penalty than black people who kill black people or white people who kill white people. Black men receive 20% longer prison sentences for committing the same crime as white men. So you can see, maybe in one case or two cases, we might not be able to see the racism clearly, but when we take all of the cases together and have a bird eye view of everything, we will see that the system goes completely against minorities and especially black people. They say that your future, your job, your destiny is based on your zip code, and what zip code you were born in and you grew up in. Based on that, your whole trajectory in life will change. Your job, what you will have as a job and what you have as a career and all of that stuff. That's why when people ask you where you live, they're kind of, just asking to see what your socioeconomic background is. Not necessarily where exactly you live, that I might visit you or something. But people can't really ask you, they don't know how much you have or what's your, what's your income or anything like that. But an indirect way of knowing your socioeconomic background and asking you where you live. So, this is ongoing. This hasn't stopped. The forms of shackles might have changed. Before it was chain, and then it was bars and etc. And now it's handcuff, and then is those plastic ziplocs or whatever they use to kind of tie them. So the method of tying people has changed, but the oppression has not changed yet. Right? This has been going on for 400 years, over 400 years, right? So again, we are doing the verse in Surah al-Hujurāt, verse 11, where Allah Azza wa Jalla talks about how all men are created equal. So under this same verse, another incident that did take place. There was a Sahabi with the name of Thabit ibn Qais ibn Shammas. Thabit ibn Qais ibn Shammas, he used to have a hearing problem. He didn't hear so well. So whenever he used to sit with the Prophet, whenever there was a halaqah, whenever there was a gathering, he used to come and sit close to the Prophet. So one time he was busy praying some extra prayer and he couldn't get to the front. People already sat and everyone gathered, and so when the time came when he finished with the salah, he tried to come and sit in front. He was kind of pushing people around, not in a rude manner, but in a nice manner. He was, just finding his way, and he went to the front. And this was a Fajr time. There was no really light around, so it was kind of dark. You couldn't really see who's pushing who or who's coming out the way, etc. Right? So he went and sat in the front, and he said that make space for me. So one Sahabi said, "There's space, sit down." So even though there wasn't enough space, he just sat down and said, "Whatever, I'll just sit." And then when the sun rose and there was light, and he saw Thabit ibn Qais ibn Shammas, he saw who was the person next to him who didn't make space for him, and he said, "You, such and such, the son of such and such woman." And that woman was known to have a bad reputation, and so he kind of reminded the person that it's because of that. It's because your mother is like this and like that, right? How indecent of a statement that was. And so the Prophet ﷺ reprimanded him as well. And that's why Allah says, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَتُبْ, and the one who does not repent, فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الظَّالِمُونَ, then he is amongst the oppressors. So as long as people repent and ask Allah Azza wa for forgiveness, whatever racism that might have come out of themselves as well, right? In this country we are minorities, and we might not be so confident about our class and our racial background and etc. But even if you go back home to wherever our back home is, we have to see how we treat those people who are in a lower class. The person that comes to clean your house, how you treat them. People who are a little bit darker, how we treat them. Or even when we go to a restaurant and the waiter comes and serves us food, how we treat those people for that moment. For that moment, the waiter, the waitress, they're going to be really nice to you because they are expecting a tip from you, right? So you don't want to exploit the situation that waiter or waitress is in, And every 2 minutes, oh, can you go grab this for me, grab that for me, or do this for me, do that for me? That's not right. I believe it was Muhammad Ali, the boxer. He said that if you want to know a person's character, then see how they treat waiters and waitresses, right? So publicly and openly, we might not be so racist, but we might still carry those notions and ideas in our heads, or within even our own families. When we go to a wedding, right? And in the wedding venue, we go and we see the bride and the groom, and we say, oh, the bride is so pretty, or the husband or the groom is so handsome. How come the other party is darker? We hear those things. And we might even hear parents say to their children that, oh, don't go outside in this heat without an umbrella or something, because you're going to get black, you're going to get dark. Or don't go, to the pool or to the beach, I'm not talking, whenever it's possible for you to go, that you're going to get black. Don't do that, right? Those things do happen in our own society, own families, and own cultures as well, right? We refer to people as black, or kallus, or kalwas, or the Arabs, they refer to them as abid, slaves, or so Allah Azza wa Jalla, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la yaskhar qawmun min qawm. Don't address people in a condescending manner. Don't talk to people like that in a mean way, right? Because the Prophet ﷺ said that kibr is looking down at people. Ghamtun nas. The Prophet ﷺ said, al-kibru batarul haqqi wa ghamtun nas, looking down at people because of how they look, or the color of their skin, etc. Right? And I don't know, for some reason in our own cultures and background, lighter skin is appreciated more, right? Yeah, recently there's this wedding that took place, and there was a nikah, that I've witnessed and I performed perhaps. After the wedding was done, the mother-in-law came and said that, oh, everything is fine with the bride and everything is good, but she's just a little dark and she's just a little black. Why is that? Why does it have to be in that way? A lot of times people who are whiter or have lighter skin, they end up getting, even if they don't come from a wealthy family, they'll still get a good suitor, and they'll get married and climb the stairs and get into a good family because of the color of their skin, right? So we have to take an active role. You might blame the whites and the others and whatnot, or whoever we want. We kind of have to look within ourselves, in our own societies and cultures and families, and try to remove these things, right? The color of the skin. Even if you ask Siri, right? Even if you ask Siri that does Black lives matter, and you will see that Siri says yes, it does matter. And if you ask why, Siri will say that because color of the skin should not decide differences between justice and equality. So you can just ask that to Siri. Even a computer knows that, right? So we must all take a role and try to remove these kind of things from our societies and cultures. And then Allah Azza wa Jalla says, Ya ayyuhan nasu inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha. We have created all of you, khalaqnakum, we created all of you, min dhakarin wa untha, from one man and one female, right? And then وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلًا, and then we made you into tribes and countries, and وَقَبَائِل لِتَعَارَفُوا, so that you may just get to know one another. That's the end of it, just to get to know one another, to strike a conversation between the two people when you meet one another. But when it comes to who's the most honorable in the sight of Allah, Allah says, إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ. The most honorable among you are those who are most pious, right? One time, some Sahaba came to the Prophet ﷺ because someone stole something, and at the time, if you stole something, your hand had to be cut off. So they came to the Prophet ﷺ and said that this person stole something, and is there any way that we can make sure that he doesn't get the punishment done on him? So the Prophet ﷺ got very angry and furious. He said that even if Fatima, my own daughter, لو أن فاطمة بنت محمد سرقت لقطعت يدها. If my own daughter stole something, I would have cut her hands off. And there's no difference between class and higher people and lower people and black and white, right? So that's something I kind of wanted to address today from the Quran. While this is all going on, and while we see that people are taking to the street and breaking down statues of people who were once slave traders, right? And by no means are we promoting the looting that's going on and people breaking down businesses and taking away merchandise and items. That's not that's not right, and we condemn that and we don't promote it. But at the same time, we shouldn't bring that up and say that, oh, if you're supporting black people, then this is what you're promoting, and that's disgusting to say. How can you say that? It's like saying that, if you're helping Muslims, then you're promoting terrorism. You can't just say that, right? Just because of a few minority of people who do that, that you're going to label the whole entire society or people because of that. So inshallah we'll stop here, and we will inshallah continue next week. If you if you guys inshallah, hopefully the masjid opens soon and we will all be able to reunite and meet once again, inshallah. May Allah Azza wa Jalla give us all the tawfiq to act upon everything that has been said. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah rabbil alamin.